Welcome to another episode of Nerds with Badges. I know I've been away for a while. Life happens. A lot has happened since the last time I did an episode. Something in my brain, maybe like a switch just like came on or something. I don't have any explanation for it. I guess a long story short, I'll give you my origin, sort of my origin story. Back in 2020, I was working on a web series and then COVID happened. So I put all my film work just kind of like went to the wayside. And I had been working on a novel and I got this idea. I think what happened was I saw someone was doing some stuff on Kickstarter and they needed help. With Kickstarter, you basically give someone money. They call it backing and you get like incentives. So for example, say you want to come out with an album and you need $500. So I would back your album. I would give you like maybe $50 or something like that. And then for $50, I get like a copy of the album. Or maybe if I give $75, I get a copy of the album and a t-shirt and maybe a Zoom conversation with the artist. It just depends. So I gave these guys like $90 for a comic book that they were working on. The concept really jived with me. It's this really unique concept. I can't remember the name of the comic book. This is kind of embarrassing. But the comic book concept was about a prison for supervillains. And I thought that was such a unique idea. So I got like, my incentive was having a character that I created appear on a cover, a variant cover of the book, which only people that gave to the Kickstarter would get like a copy of the variant cover and everybody else just got like a regular cover. So somewhere down the line, I decided that I would turn my novel into a comic book. And since I had worked with these guys and I saw the quality of the artwork that they were doing, I said, why don't I get them to do some artwork for me? So flash forward to now, my character, this comic book is called Dragon Minx. And Dragon Minx is like I want to say he's a cross between Wolverine and maybe Batman. He deals primarily with like supernatural elements. And this character here, Captain Liberia, was actually the character that was featured on the variant cover for the Kickstarter project that I backed. So this was like one of the covers from my comic book concept. And then there was like variant cover right here. This is one variant cover. There were three. And this is the other variant cover. So the regular cover that you get, I think the people that bought the comic book, everybody got this. This is like the regular cover. It's the regular cover here. So these are the variant covers. So Dragon Minx was one of the characters featured in my web series that I used to do years ago on YouTube. And the web series was called Sons of Legend. It's got like a lot. I feel like I got a lot to like explain about Sons of Legend. Sons of Legend's concept revolved around a group of people who found out that they were descended from mythical characters like Dracula, the Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll, Dorian Gray. So the concept was that these people who find out that they have powers would be trained to use their powers as sort of a superhero group. And the catch is that, you find out that you got these powers and you get trained on this reality TV show that just follows you around as you're being trained how to use your powers. Unfortunately, I don't think I really focused as much on the reality TV aspect of that, which is one reason why I decided to come back and do like a revision of that. But anyway, Dragon Minx was one of the Sons of Legend characters. Dragon Minx found out that his mother and his father were Egyptian gods. It's got a complicated origin. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Greek mythology, but supposedly Zeus or Ares, I guess they could take the form of their followers And so in this particular situation, Dragon Minx's parents were possessed by these gods, Anubis and Bastet, who's like the cat goddess. So Dragon Minx's parents were human, but they were possessed by gods. So when he was conceived, so he's born with these powers. He's got the ability to communicate with animals. He's got spiritual abilities, like he can actually like walk through walls like a ghost. And Dragon Minx is also an LGBT character. So I don't know if I mentioned that, which was really, to me, that is really important. As someone who's read comic books for like forever, I know, I think that we're still waiting for that definitive, really, really cool LGBT character. Well, I guess we have Midnighter. Midnighter is he's a cool character. It's a DC character. Anyway, so Dragon Minx, I kind of got ahead of myself. Dragon Minx we did a Kickstarter campaign for Dragon Minx. We raised like $2,000 to do this. So that really inspired me a lot, because now I know that I have an audience that's willing to like invest in my stories, my story ideas. So this particular comic book here, this one is called Gerbilla. Gerbilla is about a giant gerbil that fights monsters. And this other one here is, I forgot, there's a variant cover for that also. And this other one here is The Secret Adventures of My Super Secret Ultra Gamer Grandma. So the concept is a grandmother who secretly plays video games. She's really, really good at video games. And she keeps it hidden from her kids, from her family. She actually is really good as she goes and she wins these tournaments. And she ends up getting sucked into this video game like reality, and she has to fight this like AI that's kind of gone out of control. I didn't do this by Kickstarter, by the way. This was all like, I paid for this out of my pocket. But there's been some interest in it, in the stories. And I forgot to mention my I don't know if you can see my logo. I came with the name for my company, Cryptid Cookout Productions. So I have this weird fascination with Bigfoot, with Sasquatch. When I first started reading comic books, probably when I was 8 years old, I don't think I really knew that it was something I wanted to do. I think maybe when I was about 15 years old and I started drawing all these things, at some point, I think I just focused more on my writing and just ended up getting away from the comic books. But it's interesting that now at 54 years old, I'm just getting back into comic books again, which is like the first love, because it was the comic books that led to the writing and then it's filming. So that's like, I feel like I've come full circle. But at some point, I think I've got something that has legs. I think like my own connected universe, my own MCU, my own DCU. It was always my goal when I started doing my web series to have everything kind of connect together into like this one big epic battle. Sort of like how they did with Thanos. I want to say maybe with the Dark Side, but a lot of people really don't like Zack Snyder's work. But I mean, I guess he was planning to do like a big story with Dark Side and the Justice League having to go and, basically get massacred with him and by him, and Flash having to go back in time and changing stuff. I don't know if that's the whole story, but that's what I heard. So what I want to do with all of my stories, even these like side characters, I would like to have everybody come together and be a part of this big epic showdown. I think even Image has done big epic stories, and comic book companies like Valiant have done like their own like big universe. The big, there's always like some big baddie that's gonna come along and make everybody have to team up together, even the good guys and the bad guys. So that's my comic book life, and that's what I've been focusing on since 2020. Now, another thing that I really love, in case you haven't noticed, here on the table, I've got my Switch here in its case, and I've got this other little device here, which is called the Trimu. The Trimu is a emulator type of device. I may be one of those people, one of those persons who needs to go to some kind of clinic for video game addiction. So this is about $100. I think this is about $120 for this thing. Not bad. And there's a bunch of stuff up here. A lot of like old Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. Pretty much every system that you can think of is probably up here. But there's some systems like the GameCube, I guess, that are hard to emulate. And it doesn't have video out either, which is, I hate that. But emulation has kind of like exploded over the last 10 years. A lot of people, like myself, don't like having to go out and buy the same games every time a new system comes out. Like some companies will release a system and force you to have to go and rebuy those. You know, you can't play the old games on it. Like, for example, the Wii U, which was servers were just shut down like a week ago. Nintendo shut down the servers for the Wii U and the 3DS. Games like Smash Brothers, Splatoon, what's that name? Pokken, Mario Kart. I don't know if I said Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Pokken, Splatoon. All those games can work on the Switch, but Nintendo, for whatever reason, didn't port them over. So when the Switch came out, I had to buy those games over again. So emulation just allows you to create programs that will run those older games. Now, what I hear is if you already own something and you re-download it off the internet, then you're not really breaking the law. But see, when companies do stuff like this, like what Nintendo and other companies, and it's not just Nintendo, it just forces you to have to go to other means. Otherwise, you buy the game over. And also emulation, you could have like some classic games may not even exist anymore. Maybe the company's not around. Maybe they don't, if it's not digital, it's only on disc, then, good luck finding it. So what people do is they take the files, they dump them online, and they create the programs to let you play them on any device. And that's what emulation is all about. So that's become a big thing. And I'll talk more about that later because it's something that I have very passionate feelings towards. I think that something needs to be done actually as far as emulation goes, because there's not a lot of political interest in the video game industry. And I think this is why companies get away with some of the things that they get away with. Okay, there's a game that came out like a few weeks ago called Stellar Blade. It's a demo actually. The game actually comes out on the 26th of this month, I believe. So anyway, Sony had the demo, and then I guess it was released accidentally early. So they went back and they patched it. So even though you had the game already on your PlayStation, it wouldn't work anymore. And, it's the fact that they could do that. To me, that's just a little scary. If you really take the time to read the disclaimer on the game before you play it, you might be shocked at some of the stuff that's there in the writing, because most people, I'm sure, just click accept. And I've been guilty of this myself. Most of the time, I don't read all that stuff. It's like 20 pages of stuff. See, when you buy a disc or a cartridge, it's yours forever. Although that may not be completely true, because they could still go in online and patch different things, possibly. I mean, there's good things about a digital only future, but there's definitely a downside. But more of that later. So I'm probably the king of handheld gaming systems. This is the latest addition to my gamer library, my gaming library. This is the Asus ROG Ally. This is the most, I almost dropped. I think this is the most popular handheld right now, possibly next to the Steam Deck. They messed up with the micro SD slot here. It's really close to where the air comes out, the exhaust right here, and this gets really, really hot. And I know a lot of people have had issues with the micro SD slot just like dying. And I mean, I've started having issues like maybe maybe a few days ago, I think it was saying that like I would have the device on and then there would be like a message that would come up saying something to the effect of format this micro SD card or it's not being detected or something. So I was like, okay, I think the micro SD card that I have in there is only like 32 gigs and I'm not going to really do anything more than that. I don't want to put a lot of files on a micro SD card and then like have to, run the risk of losing everything because then I would really be upset. I do know that they're supposed to be doing a new model pretty soon. I mean, maybe sooner than later because it's a big design flaw. But this is what you would call a gaming PC. So you can have like a gaming laptop, but it's in the form factor of a Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo Switch really was like, I think they started a movement because, I mean, it's a really good idea. A system that is portable and at the same time connects to your TV. I mean, it's not as portable as like something like this that you could actually put in your pocket and carry around. I mean, you can't really take, the technology for this is like really outdated. It was already outdated, when it came out. But Nintendo has, I guess their best weapon is their exclusives. And there's so many. There's Pokemon, there's Zelda, there's Metroid, of course, the Mario games, Splatoon, Pikmin, Kirby. I mean, I could just go on. I think when it comes to exclusives, Nintendo and Sony are just like, so you can't play those games anywhere else. I mean, Nintendo is not taking the route that Sony and Microsoft is right now. Sony and Microsoft are just putting their stuff on like everything. But Nintendo is, they're keeping everybody in their system. It's a good idea. But like I said before, when Nintendo came out with this thing about 8 years ago, it was a shot in the arm to the industry. I mean, it just like, I think it opened up a doorway because handheld systems have always been around. They're not new, but a handheld that can also connect to your TV, that was something I think was relatively new. So Valve came up with their own system. It's called the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is just as powerful as this. I mean, it's way more powerful. Think of the Steam Deck as a gaming laptop in the form factor of a Switch. So the Steam Deck was really like, I guess it was something that for gamers that wanted something that was more powerful. But the only downside with the Steam Deck is that it's running on Linux and it doesn't run Windows. This thing here actually runs Windows, which makes it more versatile, gives it more versatility. So I guess that's my video game life. Like just basically me explaining what I've been doing as far as video games.
If you only had to buy one out of the ones that showed up, which one would you get?
I think the Switch, actually. I think the Switch. I mean, they had the biggest library. I mean, Nintendo is, they just have a big library. And the battery life on this is way better than, the battery life on this thing, if I'm just playing and I don't have it plugged in, I'm probably, if I pray to the gods really hard enough, I can probably get an hour. Now, the cool thing about this is when you plug it in, it goes into turbo mode, which is like the specs just, beef up. The GPU goes up. And I know that the Switch does something. I think it boosted a little bit when you plug it in. I'm not sure exactly. I know the resolution, it does something with the resolution when you plug it into the dock. I personally think that the Switch is the Wii U, just in a different form factor. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I think if I had to decide on just one, I would probably just get the Switch. Because with this, it's like with the PC. And I'm not advocating for illegal duplication. Just put that out there. But if you have anything that's running Windows that's powerful enough, you can conceivably play any game that you can imagine. This one is using AMD. I think AMD is what a lot of the